Back to Fantasy Baseball Code Red on Enravio.com.
Did you order the Code Red?
You don't have to answer that question.
I'll answer the question. You want answers? I think I'm entitled. You want answers? I want the truth! You can't handle the truth!
All right, we have the truth for you here on Code Red. Welcome back, Commish.
Good to be here, Admiral. A little hiatus last week.
A little hiatus for the two of us last week. Unfortunately, my condolences. Commish had a funeral to attend last week.
Yeah, well, we had one dying, you had one being born.
Yeah, and the Admiral, big news out of the Admiral's camp, became a grandfather last Saturday during the show.
Congratulations.
And we have Kevin behind the glass. Kevin, you have a picture of the new one. The baby. All right, that is, I want to introduce to the world, that is Isabella Maria Castrogiovanni Ferrara. Buona fortuna. So anyway, we're back, and we actually, the General's MIA today. Yeah. Kevin, you have an idea where the General is today? Yes.
There he is.
Man down. Man down.
Down goes Frazier.
All right, so hey, we're back, folks. We're going to start off as usual with our week in review. Some news around the league this week. We actually had a road trip planned for the Code Red crew last week, and we were going out to the Big Ball Yard in the Bronx.
Yes, it was a glorious day as it started.
Yeah, well, it started that way. Unfortunately, it didn't quite end that way. We headed out to the stadium, and it was raining the entire time. And we get to the stadium, and we're guests of the Yes Network, by the way. So we're in the VIP suite up in Yankee Stadium, and it stops raining, and we hear the announcement.
It's going to be rained out. What?
I tell you. Shame on the road crew there, or the grounds crew, because that game could have been played.
Definitely could have.
That game could have been played, and was not. Big disappointment for us. We were hoping to get a first-hand glimpse of Mr. Puig.
Yes, especially the General, right? He was
quite excited.
You know, I was kind of curious because if you don't know, the General's a big-time Yankee fan, long-time Yankee fan. I was curious if we were going to get that game and if Puig actually hit a home run, if he was going to stand up and be like, Yahtzee!
I don't know. But we actually we were able to satisfy the General's quest for a little touch with fame, and we spent a little time with Hall of Famer Goose Gossage.
Not every day you get to do that.
Kevin, we have a picture of us with a goose. And I have to tell you, the General was like a kid in a candy store at that point.
I know, when he saw him across the way, he's like, that's the goose over there, that's the goose, you got to get him, you got to get him.
I tell you, the only thing I was waiting for. I was afraid the General was going to ask us it on his lap. It was like a kid seeing Santa Claus for the first time.
Oh, he was ecstatic.
He was. But we had a good time. You know, we'll have to reschedule that trip, and we'll get back out to Yankee Stadium and bring you guys a report.
That suite was something else, too. I've never been in one of those. It's the spread there. I think I ate one of everything while I was there.
Yeah, really.
They do it right over there.
High end.
Yes, very nice.
We've also got a couple injuries this week. Alex Cobb. Yeah, I thought we were going to have a video of that. Unfortunately, we don't. But, you know, similar to what happened with Jay Happ earlier this year. You know, Alex Cobb took one off the head.
Yeah. From
line drive right back through the box. And it caught him, I think, in the ear.
Yeah, it's hard to tell. I mean, it's even difficult for me to watch. It came off the bat of Hosmer, and you could actually hear the pop when it hits his head. And
you could hear it hit his head, and he went down immediately. And you know, they took him off on a stretcher, and who knows how long he's going to be out. It's a shame. Guy was having a great season.
He was.
And you know, I think when I see incidents like that, because you see them, you know, a few times a year. You know, I'm surprised that they haven't been able to come up with some type of protective, you know, insert for a baseball cap for a pitcher. You know, maybe like a hard plastic, you know, insert that would go inside the cap, or, you know, just something to offer a little protection, because that's dangerous.
It is. I mean, you know, you can end your life that way. Actually, it's bad news.
I mean, you're 60 feet away, and you know, that ball's coming at you hard and fast, and if it hits you square, you're going down.
Yeah, it's amazing that. there haven't been more injuries to date.
Yeah.
I mean, this year we've seen a
a
number
couple.
of them, so
Yeah.
maybe it's coming to that, you know.
Yeah.
I have to do something.
And moving on, we've got Michael Wacha sent down after 3 pretty decent starts.
Yeah, he really just had that one bad outing where he gave up 6 runs, but
Yeah.
if you look at the rest of them, he's had good starts. I'm
Well,
surprised.
I think at least one of them was against the Mets, which
Yeah.
pitching against the Mets, it's the pitcher's best friend. That and the double play. But yeah, so Wacha sent down, should be back up. Should
Yeah.
be back up later this year. We've got Zach Wheeler up though. We're Zach to the future.
Yeah, very good. Looking
Zach
good.
to the future. I have to say, very impressive in his first start. A little opening jitters, I think, at the beginning. A couple of walks
Yeah.
early. But he went 6 scoreless innings, 5 walks, struck out 7. Got the win in his first start.
He showed some real composure there. He had runners on base, getting out of those jams.
Yeah, yeah. And he seemed to handle it well after he got settled in. Seems like, he's going to handle the big show pretty well and be able to, kind of have some fun in the spotlight. A little different than Matt Harvey, who's very serious.
Yes.
Very workmanlike, and Wheeler seems to have a little bit of a sense of humor. Don't be afraid, folks. He was sent down immediately after start.
Yeah.
That was just a procedural move. He'll be right back up to take a start, I believe, on Tuesday.
Yep.
So he will be right back up.
The Harvey Wheeler era has begun.
Yeah, the Wheeler Harvey era has
Yeah.
begun, and just in the nick of time, Jonathan Neese down last night with a partially torn cuff.
Rotator cuff?
Rotator cuff. Thank you. So it looks like he's going to be out for a while.
Yeah, oh, that's a shame actually, because that would have given him 3 pretty solid starters there.
Yeah, yeah. And really no fantasy impact there. The Mets are going to go with 6 starters for a while.
Yeah.
So they'll just go with Dylan G and Jeremy
been pitching
Hefner.
better, yeah.
And Hefner, who's been
Too,
pitching pretty
yeah.
well, along with Wheeler and Harvey, and so there's no need to make a move there. Another guy up finally, Will Myers.
Yes, very nice to see him finally up. I'm sure a lot of
Yeah.
fantasy owners are pretty happy. They've been holding on to him.
Yeah, well, he was one of the
Yeah.
Super 2 guys, so we had to
Yeah.
wait a little while on him. Off to a little bit of a slow start. He was 3
Yeah.
first 17, but he's going to hit. He's going to hit in this league.
Yeah, his pedigree is as a hitter, and he's shown it in the minor league. So, it's an adjustment period, and I think you're going to see him start to hit after
Yeah.
a while.
But listen, if he's available in your league, pick him up. Another guy to keep an eye on is Manny Ramirez, folks.
He just will not go away.
He ended his contract with Taiwan in the professional league over there. He actually ended it a week early and is hoping to find his way back into the major leagues.
Yes.
Or actually may wind up playing in Japan. But, he wants to play. He's 41 years old. Hit 352 with 8 homers and 43 runs batted in 49 games over in Taiwan. So, maybe Manny still has something left in the tank.
Yeah, I'll tell you, Admiral, after 19 years of Manny, I'm ready for him to
Manny
go
being
away.
Manny.
Yes, Manny being Manny, playing when he wants to play, 2 steroid, failed tests. Enough's enough.
Yeah, I've had my fill of Manny, but you never know. He may wind up coming up and helping somebody down the stretch. So, guy to keep an eye on.
Right. You know what, though? I will say, if he popped up on the waiver wire and
You'd be
it's
all
thin,
over it, right?
you might be on it. Yep.
Then we have the play of the week. An
Oh.
amazing story. We have Christina
Joe's daughter.
Torrey,
Yes.
daughter of Joe Torrey, who happened to be in Brooklyn near her apartment and caught a baby that fell out of a 2nd-story window.
Ah, good hands.
I guess good hands. Fortunately for that kid, she's got the genes.
Runs
was
in the
able to-
family.
able to take the kid in, but very funny story there. So let's move on to our man crush segment. Unfortunately, the general is not here to sing the praises of Puig, who actually hit 407 last week, 2 home runs, 2 stolen bases. Guy's hitting 452 on the year, 6 home runs,
What a start, right?
12 runs batted in, 62 at bats.
It's crazy.
So a well-deserved man crush by the general. My man crush, Matt Harvey, still doing what he's doing. Took a no-hitter into the 7th inning in his last start this week.
Yeah. Oh.
Again, I think it's the 3rd time this year now that he's taken a no-hitter pretty deep into a game.
He looks like he's been pitching in the league for 6-7 years.
Yeah.
He's
Finally got another win after a string of no decisions, so he's now 6-1. And then we have your man crush,
Manny Machado.
Manny Machado.
The more I see this guy, I've been watching him on the MLB channel that I get on the iPad. Man, he really belongs in that conversation with Trout and Harper.
He really does.
He's
I mean, the kid's
unbelievable.
20 years old.
Yeah.
Hit 440 this week. 326 on the year. Only 5 homers, but 38 runs batted in, 6 stolen bases.
Right. He's only second in the league behind Cabrera by one hit. He's got 101 hits. I think Cabrera's got 102.
Yeah.
33 doubles. He's on pace to break that record, which is from what was it? It was Earl Webb in 1931 had 67
We're
doubles.
going way back.
Yes.
We're going way back.
So he's on pace to break that.
You know what? And he's a young kid. The power will develop. I mean, the kid's going to hit home runs, and just going to be a stud in this league for many, many years.
And he's batting second in that lineup. He's scoring a ton of runs. Chris Davis is benefiting from him being on base all day. And there's another guy, the Hulk.
So he's the guy that we're going to watch on the Man Crush. We've got our Man Crush, and again, we have to put out the disclaimer. There's nothing wrong with a Man Crush.
Right.
Perfectly acceptable.
Little bromance every now and then can't hurt you.
Can't hurt you. All right. Let's move into who's hot and who is not. Who's hot this week, Greg?
Well, we got Jay Bruce, 5 home runs this week, all of them solo shots.
All solo shots.
Yes, this guy hits them in clumps if you ever look at him.
He does.
So they're you'll see 3-game clumps with him where he'll hit 2 or 3 home runs, and then he'll go dead for a while, and then another 2 or 3 games he'll hit home runs. So
I'll tell you though, here's a guy hitting in a great hitter's park.
Yeah.
And still a young guy, a lot of power. When he finally breaks out, and he's you could say he's already broken out, but I still think there's more to come from him.
I think you're right.
I see him as a 40-homer guy, a guy that'll hit, 280, 290, driving a ton of runs.
Yeah, he hasn't just taken that next step yet, but I think you're right. I think there's more to come from him.
And then, a guy that we can't get away from, Chris Davis. Another huge week for this guy. 5 home runs, 10 runs batted in.
Hulk!
He's on our Who's Hot list every week.
He's unbelievable. So there's no doubt, there's no sell high on Chris Davis. He's the real deal. Going back to the last half of last year's.
You're holding on to him for as long as you can.
Yeah.
If you're in a keeper league, Chris Davis, enjoy him because you're going to have him for a long time and he's going to be very productive.
He's just been incredible. What a season.
And we have Giancarlo Stanton, who a couple of weeks ago I said I wasn't buying because I kind of felt like hitting in that horrible lineup. I didn't see him really getting the opportunity to really be as productive as he can. But guy comes back, 370 last week, 3 homers, 7 runs batted in, and he's ripping it up.
He is. He's tearing it up. Notorious second half hitter, like we've said before on the show. And now he's got Logan Morrison hitting back. He's back in the lineup now, so Logan Morrison's probably going to benefit more from that than Giancarlo, but at least there's a little bit of protection there.
If he has anybody around him, I mean, the problem with him is, is anybody going to pitch to him? But if he has anybody around him, he'll get some pitches to hit. Jeff Locke.
Great start for this guy, right? Fill in, originally ended up in that rotation because injuries to Wandy Rodriguez and I guess Burnett, right?
Yeah.
But and then they had Edwin Jackson, who's supposed to be coming back, but I think he's going to the bullpen now after
Edwin
this.
Jackson's
this
not
start.
cracking that lineup.
No,
that
thank
rotation.
you.
It's not happening. When Burnett comes back and Wandy comes back, I mean, they're all having great years. It's just contagious there in Pittsburgh right now.
Lock's a lock.
Yeah, yeah. Gallardo.
Yes.
Another guy that's streaky though.
He is. You're right, absolutely right.
You'll get a couple of good starts out of him, and then he will blow up. But last week, 2 starts, 13 innings pitched, 1-0, 0.92 WHIP, 0 earned runs. Did not give up an earned run in 2 starts.
Yeah, he's, ride it while it's hot.
Yeah, ride the wave. Ride the wave. And another old favorite of mine, Eric Bedard.
No, this is one of your favorites. And you know what? He's looking like the Bedard of old, right?
I've always liked this guy. I really thought, he was going to be an elite level pitcher at some point in this league. It didn't happen, mostly because of injuries.
Yeah.
And, now he's pitching in Houston, which, is not a good thing. But
he's not going to get a lot of run support there.
2 starts last week, 1-0, 0.68 ERA, 0.9 WHIP. 14 strikeouts and 13 1/3.
Can't argue with those numbers.
Yeah, so listen, if he's out there in your league and you need a short-term fix, pick him up.
Yeah, I've actually done that in a couple of the other leagues.
So did I.
And I'll add Lomo to that mix. Logan
Yeah.
Morrison, he's hit a home run last night, a triple last night, and he's hitting well over 300 for the time being. But like I said, we think he's benefiting from Giancarlo being back too. So
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. And then who's not hot this week? We've got Jeff Rutledge.
I'm making the most of the call back up, huh?
I'm sorry, Josh Rutledge.
Josh Rutledge.
Tulowitzki goes down, Rutledge in. Top prospect, and 1 for 22. The one hit was a home run, but 1 for 22, and really not making a statement right away.
No, had a couple of hits last night, but like you said, he really hasn't done much since he's come back up. So hopefully we can see the Josh Rutledge we saw last year.
Yeah. Alfonso Soriano. Listen, here's a guy that I wrote off about 10 times in the last 5
Me
years.
too.
I keep waiting for his career to end, and he keeps hanging on. But last week, rough week, 2 for 29.
Yeah. Hey, you're right, and then you'll see, 2 weeks from now, he'll go crazy and hit you 5 home runs, you know.
I think what's going to happen to him, and we'll talk about this later in the show, but I think he's going to be a guy that'll wind up getting traded. I think the Cubs will unload him on somebody, and somebody's going to need a bat down the stretch and into the playoffs, and Soriano might be the guy.
Yeah.
And then we've got Aramis Ramirez, 2 for his last 19. The story I hear with him is the knee is still acting up, and
A little bit bulky knee, huh?
yeah, it's going to be one of those situations where he's not going to play at 100% for the rest of the season. So you're going to kind of, get what you get out of him.
Yeah, I think if we hang in there on him, we'll be okay. He, hopefully, that knee gets a little bit better. Give him a little time off, and we'll be good there.
Yeah.
But he always puts up good numbers coming the end of the year. So
Yeah. And then Andy Pettit, 0-2 last week, 5.93 ERA, 1.61 WHIP. Rough week for Andy.
Here's another guy that I want to write him off every year. Think, all right, he's got to be done at this point.
Right.
And when he came back this year, has a great start. And now we're seeing him, stumble a little bit here. But
he's not the pitcher that he was. He's still a useful pitcher in fantasy leagues. He still should be a useful pitcher for the Yankees. I mean, the Yankees need that help in the rotation, and they're really not getting it. I mean, outside of Kuroda, Sabathia hasn't even been that good, so they really need Pettit to step up.
Yeah, you're right. They need him if they're going to do anything there. That's for sure.
Yeah. And then a guy that's had a great season so far, but Mike Minor, rough week, 0-1, 6 ERA, 1.58 WHIP.
Yeah, what a start he had. And, I guess every now and then you're going to hit that, that spell where sometimes they get dead arm or whatever, approaching the halfway mark of the season.
Yeah, I wouldn't worry too much about him.
Me either. We're going to get a little break with the All-Star break. He'll get some time off. So.
Yeah. And speaking of breaks, I think we're going to go to a break in a couple of minutes. We want to remind you folks, though, that we're taking calls today. You can call in today, 855-446-7282. That's 855-446-7282 is the number to call. We're also taking your comments on our chat box. So jump in, get involved with the show, and let us know what you want to talk about. Kevin, we ready for a break? Yeah. All right, we're going to go to a break. We'll be back in a couple of minutes. It's Code Red on Enravio.com.
I wanna boom bang bang with your body, oh. We gonna rock it up before we take it slow. Girl, let me rock you like a rodeo. It's gonna be a bumpy ride. I wanna boom bang bang with
it down to the minors. So, you know, he came off the DL, and apparently they're not so happy with him. And, you know, they're going to give their top prospect, Anthony Rendon, a shot at the everyday gig playing second base.
I think it's a good move, too, because even down in the minors in his rehab starts, he's been horrible, Espinosa.
Yeah.
And Rendon's holding his own up here in the majors, and better option, let him rest and put him on the shelf for a while and get back to normal.
You know, absolutely. I mean, Rendon has responded with a .375 batting average over the last 2 weeks. So, you know, roll with him. Let's see what he's got.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Definitely.
If you're really desperate for a first baseman, you know, we talked about Adam Lynn, but Brandon Moss actually had a pretty nice June.
Yeah, he did. What do you have here? 6 home runs, 11 runs batted in?
Yeah, not a bad June.
Not bad.
You know, hit
Not bad.
259, but not a bad June for Mr. Moss. You may want to pick him up.
He's another one that last year you see he had spurts like this too,
Right,
where he
right.
some good power numbers and some
Right.
good RBI totals, but you're always going to get hurt in the average with
Yeah.
him. But
And one last guy, Ben Revere, finally starting to heat up a little bit. You know, he got off to a pretty slow start. Hit 310 in June, 7 stolen bases. So if you need some cheap steals, he may be, you know, might
He's
be
your
your man.
guy.
Yeah. All right, let's move on, and let's get into our closer carousel segment. And you know, we've got a lot of stuff going on. You know, it's just been a trend the last couple of years, where you know it's a revolving door of closers.
it's not like the days of Raleigh Fingers, is it?
Well, first of all, we have Jose Valverde, who came up, you know, once the season had already started, and was thrown into the role for the Tigers immediately as their closer. Performed pretty well for a little while, and then he kind of imploded.
I tell you, Mike, they've tried everybody else in this closer role. I don't know why they don't give Drew Smiley a shot at it. The guy's got like a .98 whip, and he's got 46 strikeouts in like 43 innings and 12 walks.
Yeah.
Let the guy have that. He's got like a 1.85 earned run
Yeah,
average.
I think the problem with him is he's a lefty.
Yeah, well, you're right.
You know,
But it can't be any worse than what they're getting now,
It can't be
right?
any worse. But, you know, typically you don't see a lot of left-handed closers. You know, you've got Chapman, obviously, but, you know, you want to be able to have a right-hander pitching to the majority of the hitters when you're a closer. So, you know, right now they're going with Benoit. Listen, you know,
Well, if you're going to do that, bring, what's-his-face,
Yeah,
Rondon back up, right?
That's the guy that I think is going to wind up closing.
Yeah, at least he throws gas.
You know, they wanted him to be the closer coming out of the spring, and you know, it didn't work out. The guy wasn't ready, but you know, he is just unhittable right now in AAA. The problem is
Control.
control. You know, he's a guy that has the ability to walk the park, so you got to worry about him.
But you're right, when he's around the strike zone, he's filthy. You know?
Filthy dirty. Andrew Bailey.
Oh.
The carousel continues to spin.
You're on this carousel too, aren't you, Jay Ollie,
on
right?
this one, man. Andrew Bailey, you know, again, we started off the year with Hanrahan. He wound up getting hurt. Bailey comes in, replaces Hanrahan, does a great job, winds up getting the full-time job, and now has lost the job after 2 blown saves this week. Looks like we're going with
Yunichi?
Tozawa. I think we'll be announcing a new closer probably within a week or two up in Boston, but go with Yunichi for a while.
Yeah.
He's probably out there. Another crazy situation out in Seattle. Tom Wilhelmsen is out.
You know what? Hey, Albert Perez, why not?
I picked him up. You know, he's another guy that's going to walk the park. That's going to be a short-lived situation out there. There are a couple of younger guys out there, Medina and actually Carter Capps.
Carter Capps, yeah.
Who will probably wind up settling into that role before the season's over. But, you know, it's going to be a revolving door there for a little while.
Yeah, it's not looking pretty.
Yeah. And we've got Mr. J.J. Poots
Oh.
coming back pretty soon from his rehab assignment. Had elbow problems. You know, pitching right now in AAA Reno. He's going to remain there for a while. I think they want to give him a chance to pitch back-to-back days. You know, make sure he's got his mechanics in order, as they say. You know, Heath Bell's been closing. He had a rough patch, but not a bad week this week for Bell.
Yeah, at least in those two, you guys, you have two guys that have been closers for a majority of the season on other teams in the past. So
Yeah. So watch that situation. Then we've got Chris Perez coming back shortly. I think he's going to be activated this weekend.
Hey, did we ever find out what the deal was with the package? I never followed that.
Right now, yeah. Well, we know that he was arrested. I believe him and his wife for. I guess possession of a large quantity of marijuana. So
Hoochie coochie going on at the Perez household.
And you know, when Perez decides to put the bong down, he'll be back up with the Indians. Right now, Vinny Pastano is the man. Until he
Vinny
gets
bag of
back.
donuts.
Listen, I don't think if you want to be mentioning donuts around Perez. Steve Cishek.
Yeah.
From Florida. 4 saves this week, actually 5. He got another one last night. So that was a very unsettled situation down in Florida for a while, but it looks like Cishek is
Settling in a little
settling
bit.
in
As
after
much as
being
you
a
can.
little seasick. Fernando Rodney.
Oh, in Tampa. You know what? Here's the thing. They have this kid Alex Torres down there.
Yeah,
He is lights out. Why not give that kid a shot?
they should.
You know,
they should.
He's been fantastic. 24 Ks in 18 innings
I
pitched.
keep hearing Peralta is the guy in
I
waiting,
know,
but
I
I mean, the guy's 39 years old.
Yeah.
I mean,
And Torres has a 0 earned run average. And he doesn't walk a lot of guys. I think he's
doesn't.
got like 4 walks or
He doesn't.
something. And,
and they also have Farnsworth over there too. So
Yeah,
I'm pretty sure that Rodney's days are numbered.
Yeah.
And then finally, Jim Henderson, he'll be back. You know, they're throwing K-Rod a bone and you know, letting him get his 300 save, which is cool. You know, there's nothing wrong with that. Let him get his 300 save, and then they'll probably trade him, and we'll have Henderson back. Anybody else?
Not really. I mean, everybody knows now that the Dodgers finally went away from league and they got Jansen in there, but that's really it. I mean, this is the reason I don't look at closes until like the last 2 rounds of the draft.
You know, if you don't get Chapman, or if you don't
Right.
get Kimbrel,
There's a handful that
or maybe Papelbon, if you don't
Right.
get one of those guys,
Yeah, don't waste your pick.
it's a crapshoot the
Yeah.
rest of the year. It's a crapshoot.
Look at how many we got on the carousel today.
Yeah. So let's get into an All-Star voting update. You know, some really funny stuff going
Yeah,
on. We've
that's
got the
interesting,
All-Star
right?
break a couple of weeks away, and the fans are voting right now.
Oof.
And I got to tell you, man, there's some funny stuff going on. You know, we'll take it by league and by position. Right now in the National League, catchers, you know, we've got Buster Posey with 2.6 million votes. Right behind him is a guy you can make a very strong case for.
Absolutely.
Yadier Molina. You know, he's about 100,000 votes or so behind. You know, here's a guy that's leading all of baseball in batting average. He's hitting .366, 42 runs batted in, second among catchers. You know, Posey's having a good year, but I'll tell you, you know, Molina.
I think you're right. You got to give
You
it to
can't
Yadier.
argue. You can't argue if he winds up starting.
No, absolutely not. He's having a fantastic season for a catcher.
Yeah.
That batting average and the number of runs batted in alone. I mean, usually catcher's light hitting spot, right? So.
And you know what, the guy plays, you know, pretty much every day.
Yep.
You know, you've got, you know, Posey who, you know, gets a little time, you know, at first base, and you know, but Molina's behind the dish just about every night. So, first base, interesting situation. Joey Votto. Joey Votto's leading Paul Goldschmidt by about 500,000 votes. And I have to tell you, you know, I'm a big Joey Votto fan, but
I'm with you, but
Paul Goldschmidt, you know, I think really deserves a nod right now.
I agree with you, Admiral. He's off the chart this year. He's having a great season. Again, I am a huge Joey Votto fan, but Goldschmidt is putting up great numbers, stealing bases. You know, the power numbers are better than Votto's.
You know, yeah, he's batting .306, which is a little behind where Votto is, but he's got 19 home runs, 65 runs batted in. Votto 13 and 37.
Yeah.
You know, Goldschmidt also has 6 stolen bases. They both homered last night against each other, by the way. Actually, Votto hit 1, Goldschmidt went deep twice. But, you know, I'm kind of feeling Goldschmidt this year. I
me
really
too.
think that, you know, he should really be the guy.
I'm with you on that.
Here's an interesting situation.
Oh.
We've got second base in the National League, Brandon Phillips, really the only guy worthy of consideration. The guy's having a great year,
Absolutely.
driving in a ton of runs. But a fairly close second is Marco Scudero.
What the hell is going on? Is it only the people in San Francisco that are voting? I
Let me
mean,
tell you.
we live in an age now where you can do it on the computer. You don't even have to be at the park to fill out the paper ballot anymore.
Listen, somehow Marco Scudero has 1.7 million votes.
I have no idea how that is.
Here's a
even
guy,
possible.
not granted, the guy's hitting 330. I get that, okay? But that is the most useless 330 you will find in baseball.
Yeah.
He's not scoring runs. He's got 2 home runs, 17 runs batted in. Why the hell is, how the hell does this guy have 1.7 million?
I think Silicon Valley out there has the All-Star balloting rigged a little bit. They're submitting every day.
Now listen, and that's not the only problem out there. We'll get into that next. At shortstop, we've got Troy Tulowitzki, 2.4 million votes, deservedly
Right.
so. Second in the voting.
Again!
Brandon Crawford, folks.
What the hell?
Brandon Crawford. Okay? Listen, I don't know what you're smoking out in San Francisco. I've been to San Francisco. It's a beautiful, beautiful city. Okay? I don't know what's going on out there. You've got a situation where, look to your right, San Francisco, a couple of states over, in Wisconsin, you've got a guy named Gene Segura. Gene Segura is just having a fantastic year, really worthy of starting, especially with
Absolutely.
Tulowitzki on the DL.
No doubt.
Batting 336, 11 home runs, 31 runs batted in, 22 runs stolen bases,
right?
41 runs scored. And
He's hitting 336, right?
he's hitting 336.
How do you argue with that?
But somehow
Brandon Crawford had a very good start.
you got to go
but,
off to a decent
but
start.
that was it. I mean,
guy's
he's
hitting
tapered off.
288.
Yeah.
The guy has 5 home runs, 28 runs batted in, 1 stolen base.
I think only the people in San Francisco are voting. So get out there. Log on.
Come on,
Do
Wisconsin.
something. Come on, Wisconsin.
We need you out there. I think what's happened out in San
Put the
Francisco.
cheese down.
Well, listen. I think what happened in San Francisco is, we've now legalized marijuana out there for medical purposes, and apparently 99% of the population in San Francisco has glaucoma.
Maybe we should trade Chris Perez over there. They can do a little close the carousel
Yeah,
swap.
I tell you, I don't know what's going on out there, but and at third base, yet another
San Francisco
another
giant.
who's having a decent year, but Pablo
Yeah.
Sandoval having a decent year. The guy's been injured. I got to give the nod there to David Wright.
You gotta.
I mean,
Numbers are better.
The numbers are better. The fact that it's being played at Citi Field,
Yeah.
really kind of makes you kind of root for David Wright. Funny part about David Wright is that there's been a campaign in New York, folks, to get David Wright, elected to start at third base, and it got to the point where Wright actually approached the Mets PR department and said, "Dude, cool it. All right?
Yeah.
I can't go out there between every inning and hear the advertisement to vote for me for the All-Star game." But listen, the guy's batting 302, 11 home runs, 39 runs batted in. Sandoval's had a decent start. He's having a decent year, but really, to me, it's got to go to Wright.
And it's both ways, too, when you're talking the All-Star game. He can play defense. He's got some range.
Right.
Right. Sandoval's got a decent glove, but his range is maybe 1 foot to the left and 1 to the right. He's a big man.
That's if he's not holding the cheeseburger.
Right.
But anyway, out in the outfield, right now the leaders, Beltran, Justin Upton, and Bryce Harper.
Mike, this one, I don't have any of them on there if I was picking this. I mean, you got the 2 Cargos, right? You got Dominic Brown. How are those guys not in there? Especially Gonzalez, Carlos Gonzalez.
Carlos Gonzalez is having a fabulous year. Dominic Brown has been off the charts. Beltran probably deserving.
Yeah, he's in the mix.
He's in the mix. He's in the conversation.
Justin Upton, to me, has fallen out.
Nah,
though.
you know what?
He's been.
The guy got off to a tremendous start, folks, no
Right,
question.
right.
But he's hitting now about 240, 250,
it's
and
terrible.
it doesn't make any sense. Harper off to a great start, but the guy's been hurt.
Been hurt, yeah.
You know, and you really, you know, to me, you can't really factor him in. You know, I think you need Gomez Gonzalez and Dominic
Right.
Brown. You know, seem to be the logical picks for me.
I got you, yeah. And then, you know, there's even, you know, not as good as those guys, but you have McCutcheon's in that mix. And
Yeah.
even another surprise is Alan Craig out in St. Louis,
Yes.
you know, who plays both outfield and first base.
Who got off to a slow start, but
Yeah.
really picked it up
He's got 57 runs batted in and batting .313.
after a really slow start.
Yeah. So that's another. So I think you can make a better case for those guys than what we're seeing the fans voting for
Listen,
here.
San Francisco, cool it for a while. Listen, if somebody out there in San Francisco wants to give us a
Yeah.
call and make your case, feel free.
Yes, let's hear it.
Let's hear from you. Over in the AL, catchers, Mauer's leading the pack. You know, Matt Wieters second.
Yeah.
You know, I see Santana or Castro, believe it or not.
I would make a case for
I
Santana
mean,
there.
you know, Mauer is deserving. Jason Castro
Another one.
having a decent season for the
Yeah.
Astros. You really, you know, maybe he'll make it as a reserve.
You know who else I'll throw in there too is Salvador Perez for the
Yeah.
Royals. He's another
Yeah.
one, hits around 300.
Yep.
He's got 27 runs batted in. Not too many homers, but you know, at least he's not a loss when you plug him into the lineup. You know.
Right. Over first base, folks.
Yeah, there's nobody else that should
There's
be there.
one
but-
name,
right?
and one name only.
The
And
Hulk.
his name is Chris Davis. There's nobody else to talk about here.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, he's leading. I think he's actually second overall in the balloting. He's got about 3 million votes. Prince Fielder second, but you know, there's nobody else. I mean, this guy's obviously going to be the starter, and you know, needs to be. Over at second base, you know, it's an interesting story there. We've got Cano with 2.4 million votes. Pedroia is a pretty distant second. You can make a case for Pedroia. The other guy who unfortunately got off to a slow start was Jason Kipnis.
I agree. That's what I was going to say.
Jason Kipnis, you know, had it not been for the slow start, probably would have been the most deserving of the group. But we're gonna see Cano, I think.
Yeah, no doubt there.
Shortstop, you know, slim pickings. You know, J.J. Hardy having a pretty good year, but there was nobody else. I was searching when I voted, you know, who do I want to see at shortstop for the American League, and you know, I couldn't come up with anybody.
No, there's really not much there. You know, like Andrus is second. Jed Lowry had a great start, but he's kind of tapered off. You know, he has some decent numbers, but
Yeah.
honestly, you're right. I don't
Yeah,
think
once
once you get by
almost
Hardy,
voted for Jose Reyes, just
just
for the entertainment value. You know?
You're right. You're right.
Over at third base, you know, we know we've got your man crush.
I know, but there's no
Sorry,
chance.
folks.
Put him in as a backup.
As a
though.
backup.
Yeah.
Put him in as a backup, he deserves. But there's only one
Yeah.
guy in this conversation.
Yeah.
There's only one guy worth talking about. His name is Miguel Cabrera. You know, the guy's having a sick year.
Crazy.
And,
crazy.
you know, there's just nobody else to even bring into the conversation. You know, Cabrera is just...
That's it. There's not much else to it. I
you
mean,
know, all he's doing, he's batting .368, 20 home runs, 74 runs batted in. You
most
know,
hits in the league with a ton of walks.
Yeah, there's no discussion.
Nah, it's
DH, Big Poppy.
you gotta. I think that's as good as it gets at DH.
Listen, if your second choice is Lance Berkman, you go with Big Poppy. Out in the outfield, it's pretty clear cut.
Yeah.
Right now we've got Adam Jones, Trout, and Markakis.
He's
third.
marginal for me.
Yeah, you
Yeah.
know, he can. I can go either way with him. You know,
You got guys like Cruz, right, and
you got
Ellsbury. You could
Cruz,
make a case for.
Ellsbury. You know, you can make a pretty strong case for Ellsbury.
Yeah.
You know, Jones definitely deserving. Trout definitely deserving. We'll see what happens.
Yeah. You know, it's kind of surprising. The outfield for the American League, traditionally, as usual, you got a lot of big names there.
Yeah.
This year, it's, you know, not really that
Well, listen,
stellar.
as a National League fan, I can only hope that you know, the fans kind of get their acts together and start voting for some players who are deserving. Because
Yeah, they got to fix that outfield.
could you imagine? Could you imagine somehow the National League trotting out a lineup with Scudero starting at second,
No.
Brandon Crawford at third, Pablo Sandoval at third base? Could you imagine?
That would be a tragedy.
A travesty.
Yeah.
It would be a travesty.
That too.
Anyway, so get out there and vote, folks. It's it's important.
Yeah, definitely, and it's not that far away. We're only a couple weeks away at this point, so.
Yeah, we're hoping that the Code Red crew will be out at the game. If not, maybe we'll do the Homer Derby or the.
At least a little field trip to the Fan Fest,
Fan
right?
Fest. We're definitely going to do the Fan Fest.
At the Javits Center here in New York.
At the Javits Center, so we'll be out there for that. Also coming up pretty quickly is the trade deadline, the non-waiver trade deadline. I think you're going to see a lot of action this year. The Cubs will be sellers.
Yeah, like you were saying, maybe they can unload Soriano, and Feldman has had a fantastic year, and he got bombed
Got hit
just
hard
2
the other
nights
night.
ago. So
DeJesus, another guy. They've all got trade bait written all over them, but probably aren't going to bring back a huge prospect. The one guy actually out in Chicago that might is Matt Garza.
yeah,
Matt Garza, a guy you might catch lightning in a bottle with. Definitely a guy that if you're looking for pitching depth, and you're playoff bound and you need a third, fourth starter, he could be your guy.
I think you're right that they're going to move Soriano too, because I
Yeah.
don't know if you saw, they just brought up Tyler Colvin, and
Yeah.
he was very serviceable last year, and I hit close to 300. I think he's a good outfielder given some time and a chance. So you might see him, and then they got the other kid down there. Was it Brett Jackson? I think
Yeah,
that they have
yeah.
on the farm. So make some room for those
Yeah,
guys.
listen,
get some youth
it's
in
time to rebuild out there, and
Yeah.
there are a couple of guys that they can dish. Another guy that's been the talk of some possible trade rumors, although it's being denied by Ruben Amaro, Jonathan Papelbon. Apparently there are several teams making offers right now. Among them, a possible return to the Red Sox.
They could use it.
Can use it. The Tigers, another team that is desperate for help on the back end. Even the Cardinals, I hear, are possible suitors for Mr. Papelbon.
They would be. I mean, they have that kid Rosenthal that's the setup man now.
Right.
It's been a carousel over there. And
Yeah. Mahuga's done a
mediocre.
pretty good job, but I think
it's not the end all with him.
Yeah.
And I think too, Ruben Amaro, he's just driving up the price of Papelbon, saying that he's not available.
And it's going to take a top prospect to get him. You're talking about a Michael Waka or somebody like that to get him, and so pony up. If you need him, but you're going to pay.
I agree.
Yeah. Another guy, Chicago. Not Chicago, but Houston. They don't have many guys out there that are worth anything. But one guy that's interesting is Bud Norris.
Right.
Bud Norris has been Mr. Consistent this season. Has allowed no more than 3 earned runs in 12 of his last 15 starts. He's a guy that'll eat innings if nothing else.
Right. And like you said, good to help solidify a pitching staff on the back end, right?
Yeah.
Maybe a 4 or
I
5
could
starter.
see a team like the Giants.
Right.
With the years that Lincecum and Kane have had, it might be a good fit.
Yeah.
Might be a good fit. Another guy that we talked about a few weeks ago, Alex Rios. You know what? The White Sox will probably become sellers.
Yeah.
He's going to be a popular trade target, I think.
Yeah,
Guy's
he's
having a good year.
outfielder.
Yeah.
Good year. Had a good year last year. Definitely would help solidify an outfield, give you some pop too, and some stolen bases in there. So.
Yeah. Another guy, Giancarlo Stanton. Folks, this guy's going to be traded. It's the way that they do business down there in Florida, and it's a shame, but Stanton will be traded.
Could you imagine him in a good lineup?
Listen,
Yeah.
I could see him going to the Rangers, and you put him in that lineup in that ballpark, and the guy's going to be sick. The Red Sox, another team that needs a bat, and then there are teams that are rebuilding, teams like the Mets who could wind up making a play for this guy.
Wouldn't you love to see that?
I'd love to see it, but here's what's going to happen. Any one of the teams that I just mentioned, you're going to have to pony up a top prospect. So are you willing to give up Wheeler to get Stanton?
Yeah, and what about the Yankees? The thing is, I don't know if they've got the prospects that would close that deal.
You know what? The Yankees,
could see them
really,
wanting it,
they
but-
traded a lot of their chips.
Yeah.
So I'm not sure about the Yankees. But I'd love to see him on the Mets. The thing is do I want to give up Wheeler? I'll give up d'Arnaud. I'll give up Montero. I'll give up some top prospects. I really don't want to see him break up that rotation.
You know what team would benefit and would have the prospects to do it is Tampa, because
Yeah.
they are arm rich,
Yes.
and they need a real first baseman. What are they still
And I'll
playing
tell you
with,
what. Well, you know what? If you put Will Myers,
Luke Scott, I think, is their
yeah,
guy
but
down
if you
there.
put
or
Will
something like that.
Myers in the same outfield as Stanton,
Yeah.
that could be a
nice
a duo for years to come out there. But I think what you're going to see is you'll probably see some smaller trades initially. Somebody's going to open the floodgates with a big one, and then all bets are off. And you're going to see a lot of action around the league. So that's going to be fun to watch. A couple other quick things. We'll go through some injuries before we wrap up.
Yeah, sounds good.
Okay. Derek Jeter taking batting practice.
Finally.
You may actually see him after the break. Another Yankee you may see after the break is A-Rod.
It just doesn't stop, does it?
You know what, folks? The circus is coming to town.
Well, I guess it's kind of good being that Euclid is going to be done.
Euclid, he came back, spent a week up in the Bronx, and he's out probably for the year.
Yeah, what has he got, herniated disc or something like that?
Herniated disc. Teixeira comes up, spends a week in the Bronx, he's out again. So, you may see Jeter, you may see A-Rod before you know it. Granderson may be back, possibly even this week.
Yeah, that would be good for them. They need a little help there.
Yeah. Chase Utley due back soon.
That's good. I'm happy to see that. I'm a Chase Utley fan.
He's another guy that might wind up being on the trade.
So injury
wire.
prone. That's the problem with him. You just never know what you're going to get with him. With the injuries. He's a good player and he's going to produce for you if he's in there, but he's injured so much.
Jose Reyes may be back this week.
Yeah, he's playing rehab games. I saw him on the news the other night.
It's just scary with that type of injury. Is it going to affect his ability to steal bases?
Yeah.
We don't know. Who's another? Oh, Everett Cabrera hit the DL. Here's a guy that really broke out this year. He's got a mild left hamstring strain, but currently tied for the lead in stolen bases with Ellsbury for the league. Hit a couple of home runs, really having a good year, and we'll see what happens when he gets back.
Yeah, he's starting to move his way up the tier of elite into the more elite shortstops.
Listen, the guy's on a pace to steal about 70 or 80 bases, so you can't ignore that. Mitch Moreland back.
Yeah, your guy.
Listen, he's a guy that he's
putting up the
if
numbers.
you need a first baseman, grab him while he's out there. Sandoval back probably this week.
The Panda.
Kemp maybe back this week. Listen, folks, I need him. The Dodgers need him.
Yes.
Get him back in there. And Bryce Harper probably pretty close to getting back.
He must have been hurt a lot worse than we initially thought because he's a pretty tough kid and he plays through it. But he's been out a while now. You know. So.
Ryan Braun out on the DL. Good riddance. Tulowitzki's still about 4 weeks away. Aaron Hill should be back this week. Another guy that I've been waiting on for quite some time.
It wouldn't be a fantasy season without an injury to Tulowitzki, would it?
A.J. Burnett, not close. Not close. Hasn't even thrown.
Thank God for Garrett Cole. Right?
Yeah. Price, close. Buchholz, close. Anibal Sanchez. Fortunately for him, they didn't find any structural problems with the shoulder. So he may be back probably around the end of the month, but a guy having a great year.
I'm psyched to see Price coming back. I'm hoping we're going to see the David Price that we would expect now that he's gotten a little rest and taking some time.
So that's about it, folks. We're going to wrap it up. Thanks for tuning in to Code Red this week. We'll see you next week. I think we may have the full squad back next week.
Woo!
We'll have the General back. We'll have the Commish. And for the Admiral, signing off for Code Red. We'll see you next week, folks. Thanks for tuning in.